The United States of America is launching a military invasion of Mexico amid threats of invading Venezuela. Donald Trump is determined to start a real war in Latin America to finally fight drug trafficking. This time, there is information that Donald Trump's administration has begun detailed planning for a new mission to send American troops and intelligence officers to Mexico to fight drug cartels. Mexican authorities said they would view this move by Trump as an act of war. But it is worth recalling that back in February of this year, the United States State Department added 6 Mexican drug cartels as well as Mara Salvatrucha, 13 and the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua to the list of foreign terrorist organizations, thus granting the American military broad authority for operations in these countries. Simultaneously, a large military group led by America, the aircraft carrier Gerald Ford, and dozens of fighter jets and bombers have already approached the borders of Venezuela. And there, Trump also plans to carry out airstrikes on targets that could be used by drug cartels. Moreover, Trump has already publicly stated that the days of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro are numbered. In addition, the United States military has begun strengthening, repairing, and expanding the Roosevelt Roads Air Base in Puerto Rico, which was closed about 20 years ago. This could be evidence of preparations for strikes against Venezuela. But don't forget about Mexico either, where Trump is also planning to deploy troops right now. I'm Alexei Pichi. Let's discuss this topic together. But before we start this episode, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, give it a like, and leave any comment you want. Also, subscribe to my Telegram channel, Pichi News. It's called that, and the link is in the description of this video. There, we post breaking news as soon as it comes in. And friends, if you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, you can do so with any donation using the links and details in the description of this video. It says right there, support the Alexei Pichi channel, choose any format that's convenient for you. I will be grateful for any support from you, whether it's a donation, sponsorship, or a subscription. So according to sources in the White House and even the Pentagon, whose statements are quoted today by National Broadcasting Company News, the Donald Trump administration has begun detailed planning for a new mission to send American troops and intelligence officers to Mexico to fight drug cartels. Reportedly, the initial stage of preparation for the military mission, which will include ground operations on the territory of Mexico, has already begun. But, as 2 American officials stated, deploying American troops on the ground in Mexico is not mandatory. They say that airstrikes are also being considered if necessary. Interestingly, Trump's team is now preparing the legal framework for such an intervention so that it doesn't look like an invasion. In particular, 5 American military personnel, many of whom will be from the United States Special Operations Command, will operate under the direction of the United States Intelligence Community, that is the Central Intelligence Agency. They say it's not so much a military mission as an intelligence mission, but with the use of the military, which is provided for by a special status. In short, it's supposedly just a fight against drug cartels, so there's no way to question it. A United States mission using American forces to strike drug cartel targets in Mexico would open a new front in President Donald Trump's military campaign against drug cartels in the Western Hemisphere. So far, the United States administration has focused its efforts on Venezuela and has struck at suspected ships carrying drugs. Now we're expanding into Mexico. And it's important to note here that the mission currently being planned will mark a break from previous United States administrations, which quietly sent forces into Mexico, groups from the Central Intelligence Agency, the military and law enforcement agencies. To support local police and military units, they're fighting drug cartels, but not to take direct action against them. They were mainly there to support local law enforcement, not act independently against drug cartels. If the mission gets the final green light, the Trump administration plans to keep it secret and not publicize actions related to it, like with the recent explosions of suspected drug-carrying vessels. And as sources stated, under the new planned mission, American troops in Mexico will mainly use drones to strike drug labs, as well as members and leaders of drug cartels. Now, let me remind you that back in February, the United States State Department added 6 Mexican drug cartels, as well as Mara Salvatrucha, 13 and the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua to the list of foreign terrorist organizations. This gave American intelligence agencies and military units very broad authority to conduct espionage and covert operations against criminal networks. Earlier this month, Trump publicly admitted that he had authorized covert CIA operations and also stated that his administration could carry out strikes against cartel targets on land. But unlike Venezuela, the mission planned in Mexico is not aimed at undermining that country's government. I should note that Trump's first statement about a military mission in Mexico appeared back in April, and in April, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum made the following statement, quote, "Takamaki pi kitong damanat." And now the White House has already hinted that the Trump administration would prefer to coordinate actions with the Mexican government when carrying out any new mission against the drug cartels. However, officials do not rule out the possibility of acting without such coordination. And it's important to note here that since the beginning of September, Trump has been leading a military operation against vessels in the waters off the coast of Venezuela, which, according to his administration, were intended for smuggling drugs into the United States. Today, the Pentagon reported that 15 strikes on 16 vessels in the Caribbean Sea and Pacific Ocean killed 64 people, including Tren de Aragua members from Venezuela. Officials are not disclosing the names or other details about the deceased. And in addition, the Trump administration has not presented any evidence to support its claims regarding the vessels, their passengers, cargo, the number of dead, wounded, or survivors, and so on. Strikes are known, but everything else remains secret. But Trump's attention to Venezuela includes not only military strikes on alleged drug vessels, but also a pressure campaign against the country's president, Nicolas Maduro. The Trump administration accused Maduro of being part of a drug cartel and is offering a $50 million reward for information that would help arrest him. As for Mexico, President Sheinbaum has already allowed the CIA to expand intelligence flights that began under the Biden administration. Moreover, under her leadership, Mexico has deployed 10,000 troops to the United States border, increased fentanyl seizures, and extradited 55 high-ranking cartel members to the United States. But Trump's public statement gives reason to believe that the Mexican government is still unable to fully control the situation with the cartels. And next, they will quote Trump, "I have tremendous respect for the president, a woman whom I consider outstanding. She is a very, very brave woman, but Mexico is controlled by cartels." Well, this may indicate that Trump will still launch an operation in Mexico without giving up the idea of war in Venezuela. Today, Trump announced that Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's days are numbered. But I will tell you more about the United States operation against Venezuela in the next episode. So make sure to subscribe to this channel. I'll leave it at that for now. Friends, share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone. Subtitles